Thank you everybody for attending the City Council meeting here in San Juan Bautista, September 15th, 2015. I'd like to get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we could have Jim lead us off.
Ready? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start off with a roll call.
Councilmember Bach.
Here.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Martirona.
Here.
Vice Mayor Edge. Here. Mayor Lund.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Right now we're going to open up for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. If you have something you'd like to address to the council, please come up. Do we have any speaker cards? Okay, so we're going to move along
we
on
have
that.
somebody a hand back there.
We say hand?
And you were supposed to fill out a speaker card?
Yes.
Yep, it's okay.
You can come on up.
I was just here to represent the Cub Scouts. I guess there was some talk about closing the Cub Scout Hall.
Nobody knows anything about it.
You know, we just heard about this tonight, like
Okay.
20 minutes ago,
Oh,
and
okay.
I don't think it's probably,
So maybe I
nobody
could
said
fill out a
anything.
card
else.
and then it can be brought up at another time, or?
Yeah, or if not,
First thing you better find
Yeah.
out is whether or not we're told they couldn't have the room anymore. Who said that?
I don't know, I don't know, somehow it,
like to start at the source.
yeah. I can find out for you.
Only in San Juan.
I know.
Can't believe it
Can we find out
happened.
more information and then we'll,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
Make her fill out a card.
Yeah, because we don't know who she is.
Yeah, nobody knows who that is.
Hello, and I just wanted to let you all know that my dad's retiring, and he is also celebrating a great big huge gigantic birthday, and we're going to have a little bash down at the Hacienda, and I would cordially like to invite you if you would like to come and enjoy festivities and to honor a really great person who's been part of this community for a very long time. It'll be starting at 4 o'clock and ending at 10, and he would love to see you all there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Would anybody else like to come up? Okay, I'm going to close public comment, and we're going to come to consent items. First, approve affidavit of posting agenda,
So moved.
You can take all of those as a...
Yeah,
if you want. Okay.
I move that we adopt all 4 together.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call vote.
Councilmember West.
Yes.
Councilmember Bach.
Yes.
Councilmember Martirona.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Edge.
Yes.
Mayor Lund.
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion as stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to presentations, informational items, and reports. The first one, it's going to be a nice special one here, is a proclamation honoring Al Castaneda. Would you like to come up? You want to read? Okay. We have
Which
two.
one is it?
They're both. This is the one first, and then if we can honor this one, I don't
I've
think.
known this guy for 50 years, so.
That guy?
Yeah.
55, 60.
But he's only 49.
No, his daughter blew it, he's 70 years old.
He told me he was 49.
70 years younger.
70
Okay,
years is young.
this is a proclamation of the city of San Juan Bautista, September as Alfonso J. Castaneda Month. All right. Whereas Doña Restaurant, founded in 1982, wow, is an institution in San Juan Bautista and the West, and has materially contributed to the allure of the city. And whereas Alfonso J. Castaneda has reached a milestone in his life and career, September 18th being his 70th birthday and the occasion of retirement after 33 years as a leading fixture in the business community of San Juan Bautista. And whereas Alfonso J. Castaneda is a favored son and beloved member of this community and the parish of the Mission San Juan Bautista, and whereas Alfonso J. Castaneda has promoted this community over his life and career by supporting every local event and organization in collective memory. Be it therefore resolved that the month of September 2015 is hereby proclaimed by the City Council of San Juan Bautista Alfonso J. Castaneda Month.
I thank you, sir.
I want to add one more thing. You don't know how much happy this makes me to read this for you. No, really.
I thank you.
He's been a good friend.
For a long.
Tony, you know that we love you.
Yeah, even though you're
I also have,
Our greatest critic sometimes, but we still love him.
He's awesome.
I also have something else here. In the House of Representatives, special congressional recognition presented to Alfonso J. Castaneda, Donna Esther's Mexican Restaurant, in recognition of the retirement after 33 years as a leading fixture in the business community of San Juan Bautista. And this is by Congressman Sam Farr from the House of Representatives.
Thank you, guys.
See you Saturday.
All I can say is I know everybody here, and I'm really honored. I thank you. And serving this community has been easy because, you know what? Since I was 5.5 years old, I've been here. And believe me, nothing gives me greater pleasure than to be able to help whomever in this community, and Holster as well. I mean, when you live here, you go to high school in Holster is part of your community. So anyways, I thank you kindly, and I want you to know that everything's still going to be the same because Tammy will stay there. And I have my cousin Freddie, who came back to us. He used to be with us years ago, and he has a lot of corporate knowledge because he was a manager with quite a few chains. And so I know that him and Tammy are going to really do a great job. Yes. So nothing will change.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, I'm going to move to the end, monthly financial statements and treasurer's report. Chuck's running a little bit late today, so I'm going to wait and move him to the end for that. And then we'll move on to item C. Do we have a sheriff's report? Do we have anybody from the sheriff's department? Okay, we'll take care of item C. And then we have fire chief's report. Chief Del Campo.
Mayor, council members. If you don't know me, I'm Bob Martin Del Campo. I'm the new fire chief for the city of Hollister. I hope you guys got the documentation that I sent you. You can follow along with the oral presentation of it. So the fire department station 4 responded to 29 calls for service from August 1st through September 15th. The breakdown is easy to follow here. Vegetation fire of 1, EMS no injuries, EMS no vehicle accidents with 15, motor vehicle accident with injuries 2, motor vehicle accidents with no injuries with 3, and in miscellaneous calls, which include like lines down, lift assist, false calls, total of 8. You asked for the equipment status. We have engine 14 in service and running calls. The number right there to the right is the odometer statement. I just wanted you guys to know I should have marked that down, but got away with me. And then engine 17 and engine 16 out of service. They need annual service and preventive maintenance. And then to the right, you see their odometer statements also, so we know what kind of miles we're putting on our vehicles. Strength management pertains to the amount of personnel on a rig. So Engine 14 has 2 staffing, supplemented with 1 reserve. When a reserve firefighter is available, if they're not at work or if it's a weekend, a holiday, they come in and ride along. I'll get a report as far as how often that happens. Station 4 right now has 3 active reserve, and some of them go to school, some of them go to work, so they try to make the best that they can of it. They're locals. I have an expectation of 4 starting October 8th. We have an academy that's going to be graduating after 8 weeks of training, in-house training to meet state standards, and I'm going to be taking 4 from them, and you're going to have a total of 7 that will be located here. So you'll have a better contingency of reserve firefighters coming to Station 1 or Station 4 for callbacks. And right now recruiting efforts are continuing and ongoing. If you look at the 4th item down, what I'm going to do is reinstate the original 1865 fire companies by name. It's a traditional and ceremonial aspect. You've got all four engine stations that you have Hollister Fire Station 1, 2, and 3. 3 will be built out within the next year or so, and you have Station 4, west end of San Juan Bautista. So if you look down at the list, you have the Alert Hose Company number 1, which is going to be stationed in Station 1. Hollister Hook and Ladder, which is what we would call right now our truck company, which is going to be at Station 1. Wide Awake Hose Company, which is at number 2, they're going to be assigned to Station 2, that jurisdiction. Excelsior Hose Company number 3, which will be at the north end of the county, which we're hoping is going to be Rosa Morada. And then Eagles Hook and Ladder Company, which is the original established 1865 company that was built to provide fire suppression and fire service here in your city. So I want to bring back the tradition of the fire service by naming the volunteer companies, the reserve companies, so they have a sense of ownership, a little competitive edge for each of the departments or for each of the stations. And I like the fact that after doing some research of this city's fire suppression organization, it started by a businessman who was really concerned about providing fire suppression to his community. A gentleman by the name of John Butler or Butler, and the guy was a brewer that had a stable of horses. Now, not because he was a brewer and had a business that he was trying to provide protection for the city, but because it had a stable of horses and carts, they utilized those horses and carts to carry hooks, ladders, hose, and whatever you need to fight a fire. So I want to instill that in our newest generation of firefighters and just put it in place so they got a sense of pride. So that concludes my report. Pending questions.
On Rescue 64, is that coming up pretty soon, that service?
Yeah, we're trying to get a date scheduled at the end of this month. The city of Hollister just hired a mechanic, and what they're going to do is a DMV bumper-to-bumper inspection on it and try to find what deficiencies there are. If there's any equipment or maintenance that we need to provide, we'll knock that out. We need to get that up and running. I know that there was some talk about turning that into a skid-mounted pump. I kind of like that idea because when we had a fire here about two weeks ago, we deployed our Patrol 51 out to the fire on off of Bedabel, and it was the same configuration as the Rescue 64, where it was able to get into the tight spots and negotiate most of the rough terrain and put that fire out on the spot, as opposed to the cumbersome Type 3 or a Type 1. I think we've had about 2 fires where the Type 1 engine, and meaning by Type 1 engine is a structure fire engine. It doesn't go off-road. It gets on the hardball pavement and stays in place where you got to stretch lines to the fire. A Type 3 or a Type 6, like we're trying to propose, will pump and roll. So it'll pump, spray water as it's rolling to knock out any kind of fire or issues that you have, spot fires or even the rough terrain.
Okay. Staff reports.
Matt,
Oh, sure.
this is far and away the best report we've ever gotten, that I've ever seen in the time I've been on the council and visiting in the audience, and I really appreciate
Oh, good.
this. I really appreciate, the effort that went into bringing us up to speed. This has been, we have learned more in that 5 minutes than we've learned this year.
Oh, good.
For the operation.
So I instruct the captains also to, if I'm not available, if I'm not on a reserve meeting or I'm deployed,
Sure.
what's going to happen is it's a blank template. All they have to do is plug in the numbers.
Yeah, it occurred to me that we have, since we have staffing here, it might be, you may be able to assign the captain here to just come in and give the report.
Oh, yeah,
during their own
absolutely.
time. But anyway, thank you very much.
Not a
Appreciate it.
problem.
Just the one other thing I think we talked about at the fire council meeting was we're going to do the breakdown station for the city calls and county calls.
For
Station
the,
4.
Yeah. So I got that information. Most of the calls, for the exception of, I want to say, and I didn't put it in a bullet item, but I want to say there's a total of 7 that were in city calls.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll get that in there the next time. And it's not a hard breakdown. Out of 29, I can easily sift it.
That kind of gives us our percentage of
Yeah.
what we're running county.
Absolutely.
But other than that, great job. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and congratulations, Uncle Al.
Another nephew?
It's quite a tree. All right, I guess we're going to pass on the library report. We pretty much have that every time. Administrative report. Do we have anything for that? Or did you?
Not much, no.
Okay. We can move on to,
There's one question.
There is one in there.
There's a report in there.
we have this staff report here.
Has Roger said anything about the well driller, what the schedule is?
The well? I haven't heard anything on it. I just know that,
I know they're backed up pretty
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, but this guy's been dragging us for,
And we've already given them
months.
money, huh?
I'm not sure.
no, I mentioned to Roger the other day, if he
We'll,
can't get here, we want our money back.
Okay. I'll make note of that.
I'll check in within this week and stuff. We'll
Okay.
see if I can get a
with
phone
majority,
count.
you mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
and find out through that. Okay, so we'll check on that. We'll move on to public meetings and city council committee reports. I'll start with Chris.
Intergovernmental
Intergovernmental.
fire prevention.
Well, that's your report.
You were there.
I was there. The intergovernmental, I'm trying to think if there was anything that pertained to us in particular. There was some continuing conversation about the potential tax increases, sales tax increases in the county, the city of Hollister. That situation is pretty confused, and I'm not sure there's any clarity yet. I think that the next intergovernmental meeting is going to focus entirely or solely on that subject, but it's pretty confused between the COG's potential proposed tax and the city of Hollister's extension or potential extension of their sales tax. It's pretty messy, I thought. Would you agree?
I wasn't there.
You weren't there this week.
I was there with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty.
And the thing is, we're
My assistant.
the San Juan Bautista and the county are going to go with the COG half-cent tax. Whether the city is or not, they haven't made up their mind yet.
Yeah, it's confused, so.
We'll have more next month.
Yeah.
Probably. The AMBAG meeting, there was a discussion sort of during the opening, talking about some of the opportunities to collaborate on tourism promotion, and the suggestion was made, I see Richard in the audience there, one of the suggestions that came up was for the committee here potentially to join the Chambers of Commerce in Carmel, Monterey, and Santa Cruz because, and I got some contacts. I haven't had a chance to talk to you, Richard, but I've got a couple of people that we should probably circle back with. But I'd love to talk to you after. So, anyway, it appears that some of the other counties in the Tri-County area are starting to recognize that there's opportunity, particularly with Pinnacle's redesignation.
All right. Thank you.
Add to that.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Jill Pagren and I were invited to the meeting up at Pinnacles by Anthony Battelle. And yes, Chris got it right, where all the counties and cities in the area are going to work together to take advantage of the fact that Pinnacles is a national park. And we're going to meet soon and form a committee between all the cities that are near the Pinnacles. And I have to add that we met with Adela Gonzalez from Soledad. They took the first step in taking advantage of that, and they're willing to work with us and assist us in doing the same.
That'd be great. Thank you.
COG. Chris brought up about the COG is supporting the half-cent sales tax along with, I believe, with San Juan Bautista, but it has to go only for road repairs and building. And Hollister, they want a big chunk of money to go try to do Highway 25, and it's just not going to happen out of a 0.5% sales tax. But so I think that might be why they're waffling. And then the other thing was I took credit for getting the signs off of Washington Street, the countdown at the crosswalk, and the weeds cut behind Franklin Circle. I told Caltrans they made me look like a hero. So.
Where do you find a phone booth?
Not anymore. It's on my cell phone.
Jim?
You know, I was sitting here trying to figure out what from the fire safety meeting to the contract that I reviewed, to Chris's review, to what the fire chief just said, and I don't know which is which from where. So, but basically, but I thought the thing that this was good. And this answered a lot of questions that we had before, so I'm really happy with that. And again, we're working on the contract. We need to look at what the contract for the county, because they're part of the same contract. I mean, sometimes the city of Hollister thinks, no, we have two separate contracts, but they're independent, so we need to take a look at that. But I think we're moving towards getting that resolved within a month or two.
No meetings to report on.
Okay. I was at the fire meeting with Jim. That's pretty much the same. That's all I had.
We have a public comment. Eric Redstock, if you want to give a report.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Mayor, council members. We had a neighborhood watch meeting last Thursday. We had the Santa Cruz Regional 911 General Manager Dennis Kidd come and do a presentation with Melody McDonald, and they had some great information. There was a little bit of chatter on the social media websites about whether you should call 911 in a non-emergency, whether you shouldn't, and Santa Cruz Regional 911 made it very clear. All emergency and non-emergency calls in San Benito County get called to 911. Be it somebody's making too much noise, be it your arm is chopped off, all calls get put to 911. The non-emergency lines at the Sheriff Department go directly to the 911 staff at Santa Cruz Regional. So you can still call the non-emergency line, but it is going to send you straight to 911. I thought that was cleared up a lot of questions that the community has been asking. Couple quick stats. Couple quick stats. They had a total of 576,000 calls last year. Of those, 151,000 were dialed to 911, and of those, 58% of those were cell phone calls. Cell phones, as they explained, the technology of cell phones and being able to place calls off towers, 911 calls don't necessarily go to CHP anymore. They will go to 911 more often than they will not. And that as that technology progresses, it will get better and better. And I will, with all the information we had, I will be writing up a report and putting it on the website, nwsjb.com. And you can also go to their website, scr911.org, and they have some great information in there. You can look through their annual report, and that could keep you reading for hours if you're interested in that type of thing. So overall, probably one of our best presentations that I've been to since I've been involved with Neighborhood Watch. So,
Eric, there were two. The 911 is the general manager.
Dennis.
Dennis is the general manager.
Yes.
Yeah. So he talked. He and the person they brought with him talked about two apps for your phone.
Oh, yeah.
That I thought were terrific. One's called Pulse Point. And that will allow you to follow calls to the fire department. Hollister Fire Department is on Pulse Point. It also has application. It will tell you where the nearest AED, or the automatic defibrillator, is. Wherever you are, it'll show it on a map. It'll also, there's a way to register. If you're CPR certified, you can register with them, and it'll literally call you. You'll get a text through an alert through their system to respond in an emergency if there's someone who needs CPR administered. It's a pretty interesting system. The other one is called Code Red, and that has alerts similar to the Amber Alerts. It will post a lot of different alerts for your locale. If you go on to the scr911.org website,
yep,
you can register your phone number in your phone. You have to, with a cell phone, you have to register it. You don't have to register your home phone, but it'll do push alerts in the case of any emergency. If there was a gas leak or a major event where they would want the authorities would want you to shelter in place, that sort of thing. The alerts would, if you register your cell phone, you'll get them by a cell phone, or they'll come through your home phone.
They were saying that some of the, when landlines were the only way to communicate, that those phone numbers would come straight to an address. And I know in our home we don't have a landline. We both use our cell phones. So the problems they run into is if there's a false call, a dropped call, an emergency, somebody grabbed my phone and shut it off. If I were having issues, they would have no way to come back to my address unless I registered that cell phone. He was saying the cell phone carriers have been digging their heels in on providing that information. But if you go to Code Red, is it codered.com?
No, you go to the SCR911 website, and they have a link to the registration.
So you can go to that link and you can actually register your cell phone to your address, so that when your phone pops up, then they'll know which address to come to in case it's a dropped call, in case you have an issue or something and can't speak. They'll know where to send you. You can also set up with your cable phone. I forget the terminology used, but if you have a cable-based landline, your address does not come direct to it. You again have to register through Code Red. So that again, I'll do a little write-up on the website and make sure that the information gets out on all the social media sites. That's a good way to get yourself somewhat protected.
All right, thank you. We're going to go back to the sheriff's report. I see that they came in.
Sorry for the tardiness. We were just assigned this task, and I had to actually find out where the building was. I'm new to the department, although not new to the business, and so it's a pleasure to meet you all. San Juanians that I usually don't see because it's the middle of the night and you're all asleep while we're awake. I'm joined with my partner Jonathan Wizard there, and we're both kind of new to the agency, but we're not new to policing, so bear with me. I've never had an opportunity to do this, so I'm actually not even really sure what's expected of me. Am I to give you the report that I was given in the notes?
Sure.
Got it. I'll get better. Informed here that 93 cases have happened in San Juan since March the 15th, an average of about 15 a month. The case doesn't necessarily mean that a crime occurred. It means there was a response for the sheriff's department to come out and either handle a lost property case or a barking dog or something like that. So not necessarily, 93 cases don't necessarily represent 93 heinous things that have happened in the community since March the 15th. We've got everything from stolen vehicles, that half of those have been recovered. In my experience since being out here, I was hired to the agency. I come from San Jose, but I was hired to the Sheriff's Department here in the beginning of July. And my experience out here is that there's a lot of quality of life crimes that tend to irritate people. The theft of a bike, or the theft of a trailer, or something, or an old boat that they didn't want anymore. Those things have a tendency to get under people's fingernails a little more than the serious things that don't tend to happen. But nonetheless, it still makes your community feel like that there's people out lurking in the dark, in the middle of the night, doing things that don't belong here, and they need to be apprehended. And so that's what we're about in the middle of the night, trying to keep a lid on those things. We've had some thefts, like I said, mainly of property, motorcycle helmets to vehicles to a trailer. It looks like here in July that the Sheriff's Department worked with the mission to cancel a biker blessing. That would have brought thousands of people here to the city and perhaps caused a public safety issue. I did not work with that project at all, but it looks like that was canceled and probably helped this public safety for the weekend. Another couple of stolen cars in August. If you have a Honda, to all of you, it's anywhere between 94 and probably 98. It's a 4-door Accord. Don't fall in love with it or name it anything, because it might be missing from you someday. But all accounts are we'll get it back. They usually just drive to the run out of gas and they steal another one. So not a big deal. Nothing to note in September so far. As of the 93 cases, 8 arrests were made for outstanding warrants here locally. 11 of those reports were informational, and 2 of the cases were issued in error. It looks like from the ending notes here from who handed you this paper that still continuing to have problems with expired vehicles that are parked in the street. Some of the public blight continues. We're working together to try to conquer those things. Staffing levels what they are. Sometimes we run a little bit short, but if we do have some free time, we do like to make our way around and take a look at who's got a parked car for a couple of years and either throw a tag on it or tow it. Some community sensitivity that we face in the middle of the night, hearing the beep, beep, beep of a backed up tow truck at 4 o'clock in the morning tends to be more disruptive than it does to be productive. So we're passing that on to our day shift deputies if we find out that information that we're getting at nighttime by lurking about, so that it's done more in a business type environment in a business hours, so it's not as disruptive. It looks like we're continuing to work with the city to develop a policing model that best suits the needs of San Juan. Being new, I'm still understanding those needs. And Deputy Wizard, the same. But I can tell you we spend many, many hours out here in the middle of the night contacting people who are out walking and or not. And most of the time it's a citizen that just can't sleep, or especially in the heat. Lately we've found out a lot of pedestrians out in the middle of the night just because they just are uncomfortable. But we'll see if that trend continues as the weather starts to turn for us. But I can't, in my experience, not know whether we can speak to anything that really is grating on us. One thing of note, I do have a community meeting next Tuesday at Mission Farm. Over there they've been experiencing some thefts and some kind of quality of life related crimes. And so I'm scheduled to present a neighborhood watch sort of environment over there at the trailer park to speak to those citizens about what they can do to better protect themselves.
To the right, here's our neighborhood watch.
Here in the front row,
okay.
Neighborhood watch
Hi,
contact.
I'm Eric. Nice to meet you. So I'll double check with her on that. I spoke to her a couple of weeks ago. She was going to put out a flyer to gather some of the residents there in their community hall meeting and have a kind of a gathering to hopefully bring about some understanding and the limitations on our part, as well as some of the proactive things that the citizens can do to protect themselves. so that they're better protected from those quality of life issues. Sorry I'm late. I'm new.
All right, it was nice to see last Saturday, I think Deputy Lease had a semi pulled over in the middle of the town.
He backed them up.
Yes.
And, you know, we constantly still get that through here. And it's a timing issue, I know it is.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know if we've talked to Earthbound or True Leaf and sent them memos or...
I don't know if those cases relate to either new operators that are coming through. I know in my experience, GPS isn't always right, and it will send you on a weird way. It doesn't tell you that that road's closed or you can't get through there. It looks like a line on your screen. So in defense of some of these operators that are trying to get through, it's usually a one-time thing, where they get kind of turned around. But if something that continues, of course, then it can become an issue. I had the opportunity to sit in with Sam Farr 2 weeks ago with his meeting there in Hollister with regards to some of the issues with 156 and some of the heavy-duty traffic that comes through at night. As you folks know, that when you spend the evening with your windows open, it's just non-stop.
Yeah.
So we don't find that heavy truck traffic necessarily in the middle of the night, but that is a concern, and I think that it's kind of a one-time sort of corrected thing once they're given the better route.
All right, thank you. Anything else we should probably be aware of, or?
No, not that I know of.
Okay.
I'll do more research.
All right, thanks,
All right.
appreciate it.
These are all that take time.
Okay. Call them up.
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street, and I'd like to thank the deputy for his report and say that I have seen more of the sheriff's deputies working stop signs and doing all that low-level crime enforcement that we appreciate so much here in San Juan. And in keeping with the low-level crime, I want to remind the council and the public that the city does have a system for licensing dogs, and we do have leash laws, and there's a lot of dogs that run loose. There's also, most of the dogs in the city are not licensed. In fact, I've talked to people who were not aware that we did license dogs. It is for the dog's safety and your safety to have your dog licensed with the city so that if it is lost, you can call the city, and or if the dog shows up, because sometimes our city workers pick them up, then you know where that dog belongs. Because sometimes they're found without their you know, tags that have their address on it. But if they have that little San Juan Bautista license, then you know where they belong. So we do appreciate all levels of crime enforcement, but the deputy is correct. We do have a lot of little annoyances here, and we appreciate them paying attention to that. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
God, I gotta remember to do that. Dog's got a chip.
Any more speaker cards? Any more speaker cards? Okay. All right, we're going to move along to number 5, public hearing and or action items. A, consider an ordinance 2015-39. Ordinance 20? Okay. For the water and sewer rates, second reading of ordinance 2015-20 still? It's one ordinance, so it'll still be 20. Okay. Somebody like to read that?
According to the notification, it's 218.
218 is the state law that requires us to, every 5 years, to put out the notifications and go through this process. That's what the 218 is referencing.
Just reminding staff that this is a 218 hearing, so this is when you need to take public comment, close the public hearing, and then allow the city clerk to
Count the votes.
Count the votes.
Okay. we have any public comment at this time?
Yes, Jolene?
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. As you know, I spoke last month hoping to possibly reduce these large charges for the smaller water users because it is a big increase for those on fixed incomes and lower level income. And I thought of something that I hadn't mentioned, and I didn't hear anyone on council discuss it. Have you considered the possibility, or would it even be possible at this late date, to consider including the first 1,000 gallons of use in with the basic water and sewer rate? And the reason for that is there are users who only have a bathroom and a sink. And there are apartment users that use very little water. And if you're using less than 1,000 gallons, it just seems fair to me. I mean, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, remember the old days when the first 3,000 gallons was included in our basic rate. And I'm not suggesting that. I realize we need the money too much for all of the improvements that we need in the water system. But can you consider including that first 1,000 gallons of water use in with the basic rate? And I also wanted to mention, I've seen a lot more city workers, and I realize we need them and all that, but I'm just wondering, how many city workers do we have now?
I think we're up to 4.
It's Public Works.
Public Works.
110.
4 regular and 110. I thought there were 5 now,
Yeah.
because I saw the 110. Okay, so it's 4 regular and 110, which is good staffing, and I hope we're not going to put everything to staffing, because we sure do have a lot of projects to finish and a lot of high interest rates.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. Longtime resident, born and raised here in San Bautista. Unfortunately, you know, you talk about infrastructures, and of course, I'm not saying it's your fault. It's been previous administrations that have really not done anything at all. There is monies out there, you know, through the state of California as well as through the federal government to help with water quality control, and I think you should do some research on that portion. Also, the California Endowment Fund, I don't know if they have any money this year, or next year I should say, next fiscal year, but maybe that would be another place to look for some funding as well, because you know, all the piping here in San Bautista is completely shattered underground, and I'm sure that's the reason for most of our hard water and smelliness that's coming through the pipes. Nothing's really been done with that. So that's what I'm offering, hopefully that you can do a little more research on that. And if you can call those numbers or go online to those websites, you can find out people that are willing to give you some information as well. And I believe they even have some engineers that are willing to do a gratis type review for the city, because we're under 10,000 population here. That's the key for those fundings. Thank you.
Thank you. We have been doing a lot of research. We've tried to work with the Water Resource Board. We were waiting on a grant that was supposed to be coming in around June and July that we were qualified for. We've pretty much exhausted a lot of grants and stuff that we've been looking into. And that was our first priority, was to look somewhere else for money before it comes here. This is kind of our last resort of what we've been trying to put together. It's an increase that's going to, it's going to be a quality improvement of the water. We have a pellet softener plant. Engineering, is almost finished. We're going to be putting that out to bid to have that pellet softener in. We're also going to be having the bonds going out for our debt, which is going to increase monies there that we're going to be putting in and being able to repay the general fund back that we need to pay. We've been everywhere for the last 3 years looking for this, and this is where we're at this point. But thank you. Anything more, Tom? No more speaker cards? Okay. Right now, I'm going to close for quick adjournment so that we could do a tally on the votes. And we'll probably, how long do you think we'll need for the votes? How long do you think we'll need to count the votes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes? Okay, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. Deborah, or do you do the vote?
No, the city clerk should give you the announcement right now regarding the vote, and then you will go on to pass the ordinance with the findings as attached.
Okay.
Good evening, council members and mayor. Over the past 60 days or so, I've been collecting through, I think all of them have come through the mail. Maybe a couple have come to the counter of protests. And I have a certification. There were 695 public hearing notices mailed out to property owners for various properties, for all the properties in the city that receive water and sewer. A valid protest would be half of that. And so that amounts to 348 protests, would be a majority of the parcels. We received 5 protests from property owners, 0 protests from tenants, and 1 protest that was denied. It did not follow the format that was required in the public hearing notice of putting APN number and address.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's 5-1, right?
Damn, you're not good. I can't look at you.
5-8, right?
You're not
Yes.
Yeah.
Sit. Back pass.
So you have this one right here.
Yeah, that's the report.
This is the report. And this will be the ordinance.
Correct.
Now, you opened the public hearing already, right?
We've opened
And
and
closed
closed.
it? Yeah,
I
okay.
closed it, adjourned for the,
So I'll move that we adopt
well,
the
do you want
ordinance.
to bring it back to council? Does
Oh,
anybody have-
discuss it?
Council?
Sure.
I just, the one gentleman here, I really don't know if people or the citizens understand that the general plan, general fund has been subsidizing the water and sewer funds to the tune of $1.8 million over the last years. And we have to pay that back. Just, if we get that money back, then we can do other improvements in the city. So I just
More police.
hope the public understands that we're not trying to make a whole lot of money. We're just trying to pay back some of what we owe them.
It's hard enough to break even.
Yeah.
Chris, anything?
No, sir.
Jim? Rick?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
I move that we adopt ordinance, do we have a number on it? I'm sorry.
20.
2015-20. Where's the title? An ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista amending sections 3-5-150 and 3-5-155 of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code to modify sewer and water rates.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Martinet,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rich,
Aye.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the city in person for motion to state that the member passes unanimously.
When is this going to take effect? When's this take effect?
I think it said, I think the staff report said that the bills don't go out with these
Oh, it'd be November
till,
bill.
no, I
Yeah,
believe
it's
it's
the
the
October
December.
billing, wasn't it?
I think it's the, no, December.
We haven't done those for weeks.
Or is it November billing?
I think it was a November.
Mayor
bill.
Lund?
Because we haven't approved which rate increases.
Wasn't it already included in there?
Which program we were going to use for the increase?
What's the ordinance say?
I read it somewhere that it was going to take effect in November, That's right.
In here it says December 1st.
Yeah,
It says
it's the
that
December
we
1st.
won't be able to do it by
Right.
No, it's
November
Exhibit
1st.
A.
It would happen December 1st.
There's no choices.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all set.
Yeah.
And Exhibit B is water rates, Exhibit A is wastewater rates.
Right. And so the first billing cycle that it goes in, that it will show up on is the December 1st billing.
So the one
December? Okay.
Yeah, before.
I know it's put
everything-
off because otherwise you're going to have half
Yeah,
and half in one month, and
Right.
that's too
So it's the
difficult.
accumulation of November that's going to be billed in December.
I guess, yeah.
That could be right at Christmas time.
Thanks.
Okay.
I think we should say something about that reduced rate or what we're talking.
I think
Yeah,
that should be agendized. I mean, it's not part of the ordinance.
Yeah,
It's
you're
not-
right,
it's-
yeah.
It would be something, a
We have
discussion
to
item.
put a plan in place.
Right.
But we'll,
It's not covered in the ordinance. It's something I think we
but
should
we
have
are
as a discussion
we are
item.
working on a limited income program with the water and sewer. We haven't got it fully put together yet. We'll probably put it on the agenda for next month, and we'll give you the results of what we put together at that time. All right, so we'll move along. Are we in the B? Are we on to B?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Considering and adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 11-03, Article 1, Zoning District Development Standards Section 11-03-010 Development Standards established in Chapter 11-04, Article 1, Additional Development Standards Section 11-04-010 Residential District Subsection Single Family Resident Lots, second reading. We have a staff report.
Yeah. It says the Planning Commission over the last 6 months have analyzed, reviewed, and considered various alternative ways to encourage development and affordable housing within the city. Our inclusionary housing regulations provide a structured and fixed percentage of affordable units that often does not produce results. The Planning Commission considered changing the development standards that would allow the private real estate marketplace with the proper tools and mechanisms to be more efficient and cost-effective in the construction of housing with an emphasis on encouraging smaller units on smaller lots. This would indirectly encourage lower housing costs by reducing size of homes and lots. A zoning district for single-family residential development with provisions for variable lot sizes would provide the ability to encourage and design diversity, variation in building size to meet entry-level and first-time homebuyers. The Planning Commission adopted Resolution 2015-25 and is recommending the City Council changing the municipal code to reflect a new approach to housing development in the R1 single-family district.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment? Okay, would you bring it back to the council?
I don't know why I never noticed this before, but in Article 1, Development Standards, A says, for single-family residential lots, the maximum building coverage shall not exceed 40%. Then you go down to B, and it says, for single-family residential lots, the maximum site coverage, site coverage, that's the difference.
Yeah.
Building coverage and site coverage, okay. That takes care of it, thank you. Should read better.
Chris, anything?
No, I think we discussed it at the last meeting, and I'm comfortable with it.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, in the old days, I always said, well, wait a minute, I had to have a 7,000 square foot lot, why doesn't he have to have one? But now I've come to the conclusion that that's really, this is hopefully going to help keep housing costs, and get some people into homes that, and there are a lot of under 7,000 square foot lots in this town.
Mine is quite a bit less than 7,000.
But, no, I really think it's a good idea to work something like this out.
How much concrete is it?
Pardon? You could pave the whole thing. I think it's a good idea. I think it's good for the town. I don't think it's going to produce affordable housing because I think affordable housing is priced at what the market will bear, and I don't think it's going to achieve our goal. But I think it's a good idea for the planning of the community.
I agree with you. I just don't see a smaller house costing less.
Yeah.
Just the way I've seen some small houses in a lot of areas that I just can't believe how much they're asking for. No privacy, no yard, and it's still the same as the house next door.
Yeah, it's what the market will bear. But I do think it's what we need to do to build out the community.
Well, it gives us an opportunity to, hopefully.
It keeps it from going up.
Yeah.
Okay, can I get a motion?
Also move that we, where'd it go? Okay. We adopt an ordinance of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista, amending Chapter 11-03, Article 1, Section 11-03-010, Development Standards, and Chapter 11-04, Article 1, Section 11-04-010, Residential Districts of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Different meeting.
Councilmember Martorana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rench?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated and will pass unanimously.
And that's 21.
It's 21.
Okay, we'll move along to item C. Considering adopting an ordinance amending Chapter 10-2 of the SJB to add Section 10-02-65 Plan Line Maps. And let me just see here. Okay. Mine was a staff report.
Okay, so plan line maps have been discussed for over the last few years as a means to preserve and protect lands that will provide circulation of vehicular traffic and pedestrian and bicycle pathways as the city grows. Upon reviewing the current municipal code, it was discovered the absence of legal authority to prepare and approve plan line maps. The staff has prepared an amendment to the municipal code that would allow the Planning Commission to review the needs and act appropriately in directing staff to prepare and adopt plan line maps for future growth of the city. Recommendation. The Planning Commission adopted Resolution 2015-28 recommending that the City Council changing the municipal code to reflect that staff will prepare and the Planning Commission will adopt plan line maps for future growth of the city.
All right, thank you. Recommendations. Okay. I'd like to open that for public comment. No speaker cards? Okay. I'm going to bring it back to council.
Roger's talked about this with me a couple of times, and I think it is something that we definitely need to do. I have a problem with the ordinance because it is it needs to be proofread and rewritten. There are so many reference errors, tense errors, little minor errors in the grammar that I don't feel
more than what we could correct as a pass.
If we want to sit here and read through it, I don't think there's anything urgent particularly about this, is there?
No.
So if we sent this back to staff to proofread and rewrite, I think we would. It's just like I'm not comfortable with it at all.
Okay, the rest of the council, would you
Fine with me.
Moving it.
I'm curious about that. I thought there was a company that wrote these correctly, other than, I mean, I don't know if Roger wrote this or who. but-
No, I don't know. It just looks like it was quickly and it got edited a few times, and so some of the tenses don't match and stuff like that. I mean,
I think
it's,
you're thinking of when it gets codified, we send it to Code Publishing.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we still like it to go to Code Publishing and pretty clean, you
Yeah.
know, with all
Yeah,
the
okay.
grammatical things cleaned up.
Yeah.
And also, it really needs to be reviewed, it hasn't been reviewed by council.
oh,
No,
Okay.
It needs to be reviewed by council.
So why don't we send it back to staff for corrections, and we'll get it on the agenda. If we have it all finished, we'll put it on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
Sounds good.
thank you.
Are we going to set a record tonight?
Action items, authorize a sanitary sewer connection agreement for sewer service to 1020 Mission Vineyard Road, APN 002-550-006, applicant George Diaz. So I think we're going to continue this?
Yeah.
Is that,
That's
that's our,
continued, yeah.
right?
We have it
Okay.
right.
So that's going to, okay, so A, we're moving on. And then we'll move along to B. Consider selection of city volunteer to recognize on Philanthropy Day, November 12th, 2015. Do we have anybody coming up to give us some names? I think we were going to table it one more time to get all the necessary names and make our decision.
I thought that was this meeting.
The nomination deadline is Friday, October 9th. Is that?
Didn't we have
So-
3 names from
We had 3 names.
Yeah.
last month?
Well,
Teresa Lavignino, Ann Catano, and the third one
Sonora.
escapes me.
Sonora Vasquez.
Yeah, Sonora Vasquez.
And yes, we need this, the selection by this meeting, and who would go to accompany that individual. Yeah, they're really strict on that November or October 9th.
okay. So we need to make this decision for that.
October. Oh, yeah. Okay. Today's September.
Can you open up to public comment?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just trying to think of it. Do we have any of them
We're running a
here?
meeting up here.
We are?
City 93 4th Street, yes, you did have some names thrown out at the last city council meeting. It was Teresa Laminino and Annie Catano from the Mission Village Voice. And for clarification, this award is for volunteer, and Teresa qualifies. Sonora was our person last year, so she got the award last year.
Okay, so
Annie Catano certainly qualifies as maybe the business of the year, but we're talking about the volunteer of the year, so that's the difference. Thank you.
Good
So I have nothing on
That
it.
narrows it down.
Yeah.
Who was the nominee?
Teresa Lavinino.
Did we have any more
Do
names?
we have
come?
anything on, I mean, let me say, I just got here to town and I don't know who Teresa Lavinino is. How do we,
You don't know who Teresa Lavinino is?
She's on the...
let me say I just got to town.
She's
And I
on,
don't know who,
Sure.
what are
Teresa,
qualifications to be this?
oh, sorry. I thought you
I
meant
know,
you
I thought it
personally.
was,
Little
we thought it was
confused.
Alzheimer's came
Mr. Mayor, are you willing to take more public comment if I might clarify who Teresa Lavignino is?
Sure.
Tony, are you familiar?
Chris, what's his name here was going to tell me all that.
Oh, yeah, he would have. but-
You're here.
I'd like
Please.
to because
Please, go ahead.
I've been very impressed by Teresa ever since she came back to town to take care of her mother from Hawaii, where she actually lives, and she's been really living here for a little longer than you, I would think.
Yeah.
4 years, something like that. Anyway, the tennis courts at the high school, that's Teresa Lavignino. And she's also been intimately involved in the soccer field improvements that I think would be a great asset to the city. She's very into recreation, and this city needs recreation for our children, for ourselves. And I think that Teresa Lavignino would be an excellent choice. I thought Ann Catano would too, but as you, Richard, pointed out, she is running a business. I think she also does volunteer things, but I think that Teresa would be an excellent choice.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody's familiar with the project. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd just like to repeat what she said, and that's what I said at the last meeting, the same thing. Teresa has come back. She volunteers pretty much on anything she's asked to volunteer on, and she's a great asset to our community. She came back and she's doing great things for us. Just like Sonora. Sonora came back to San Bautista and doing great things for us. So has Annie has come back to San Bautista and has been doing great things for us. So all three of them are great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more public comment? Okay, I'll bring it back to council.
Let him come up.
So who would you like?
I will say that Teresa has been a member of the Strategic Plan Committee since its inception, and has been the ringleader behind the tennis court project at the high school, as they mentioned, and has absolutely driven the work that's going on. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the status of that. They've raised tens of thousands of dollars to go in and refurbish the high school or the Anzar School field on campus so that the soccer program will be able to expand, as well as creating down in the future a fitness trail with outdoor fitness equipment for the community. I mean, this is a huge undertaking that she's been driving and has been extremely successful in fundraising, and she's sort of been the tip of the spear on that project. So she absolutely has my full support.
Okay. I was being facetious before. I thought that the public should know why we picked someone.
Got it.
Not that I just got to town, but
So Tony, who would you like?
I like Teresa. I mean,
Jim, who would you like?
Fine. Teresa.
Teresa? Right? Teresa? All right. I think Teresa Lavarino is going to be our pick for the Philanthropy Day. If she's not watching now, we'll let her know.
She saw last meeting. She saw the last meeting, so she knows she was.
Okay.
And she asked me not to be selected, for her not to be selected, but I can't.
Well,
did she really?
that's not how this works
Does
in this
she even
town.
have a choice? There isn't no way it works. Nobody said this was a democracy.
Trish, what do we need to do as something formal, or do we just?
No, the formal recognition will be at the San Juan Oaks Golf Course on middle of November, I believe, at a
November 12th.
dinner or lunch now. I think it's
I went last year.
Dinner.
I went last year
Dinner?
too.
Oh, is it dinner now?
How come you went last year? There usually goes.
He couldn't make it, so I got to go. So I get to go again this year.
I do also need a name, and you can bring your wife,
Sounds like.
your significant other,
Sounds
or,
like the mayor.
for the dinner at the golf course
Yeah,
as
put
well.
me in for two.
And we'll give Teresa the option, of course, to bring her spouse as well, or somebody.
Okay.
Okay, so, do you want to decide amongst yourself, or are you all fighting at the bit to be the one to accompany?
I gotta get somebody else's wife going.
Oh, Jim.
You can't go.
I can't go. I got no wife.
Well, yes, I can.
I've done it already.
I think.
The mayor.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but he could.
I'd like to go.
Good.
Okay.
Good. Do it.
It'll probably be my last chance. So.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
definitely.
Okay. Chief, where are they going?
To Medley.
So that's We can move on from there? Okay.
We definitely left the building.
Okay, we'll move on to item C, consider proposed fire contract with the city of Hollister. We've been reviewing contract and we haven't really finished everything that we're trying to put together. So we'll probably move this on to the next agenda too. Hopefully we'll have it finished up by then. We'll move on to item D. Consider a change to the Strategic Planning Committee membership. Do we have, Trish? Do we have, what do we have for that one?
Yes, you have an email
It's in there.
that
6D.
Bob, John Freeman of the Strategic Planning Committee was suggesting that our city clerk, Connie Schobert, be added to the membership. I included in there a list of the members, current members on that committee. There's a lot of planning commissioner people and staff and city council members. So I'm wondering if you want to load that committee up with people that are so intimately involved with city council, with the city rather.
So your recommendation is?
Well, it's not for me to recommend.
I think the thought,
tried to pass the.
I think the thought process was that Rudy is involved in the planning pieces of it, where the government and communications piece, Connie would be would participate in it, because it's divided into subcommittees with different areas of involvement, and so that there would be that sort of division. I think that was the intent, but so do you have anything to?
How do you feel about all this?
What do you think about it?
I'm okay with it.
Good.
You all right?
Good.
Seriously, you okay with it? Okay.
It's late nights, it's weekends, it's...
Do we need to vote, or what do we need to do?
It is it's an appointment too.
I'd like to make a motion and we appoint Connie Schobert to the Strategic Planning Committee.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Montanaro?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ridge?
Yes.
Mayor Lynn?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, motion to state that the leader passes unanimously.
All right, moving along. Discussion items. A proposal to participate in MOU for 2015 AMVAG Regional orthographic.
It's easy for you to say.
Orthophotography project.
I thought it was about birds.
Rain over here. The only problem I have with this is there's no cost. I mean, stated.
Public, you want to open it
Yeah,
up?
we'll bring it out to the public first. Anybody, any
to
speaker
imagine.
cards or anything on it? Okay. So we don't have the MOU?
There's an MOU here, I believe, but
doesn't have a
Roger's
cost.
recommendation is that we continue it because there is no stated cost. They were it's been ambiguous, I think.
The email says due to the very minimal cost, but it doesn't say.
It doesn't give a dollar amount.
Well, and
Somebody who works for AMVAG minimal, I would question.
Yeah,
what they
well,
pay.
no, I heard like $8,000 or something like that.
For us?
Well,
We're
Roger
probably
said
not even going to use it.
We don't even need it.
Yeah.
well, so yeah, they had, when they originally brought this up at AMBAG, they said it was going to be on a cost per. It's listed in there as what they call a cost per tile. So it basically is based on the area, the area of the city, which is 0.722 miles. So in theory, it's a pretty low number. But they also then later said that there would probably be some sort of minimum. But they've been completely. I mean, I don't think there's any information that we've gotten. And it sounded. I spoke to Rudy a few days ago, and it sounded like they've not had any follow-up, because this came up in January, I think, originally, and there's been little or no follow-up, so. Yeah, Roger recommended continuing, and I would
We'll
agree.
continue until we get a verified cost on that.
Yeah.
All right, moving along, committee comments? Jim?
No.
Chris?
No, thank you.
Tony?
Nothing.
Rick?
No.
I don't have anything. Deborah?
Just to let you know, I briefly, very briefly, I had a hearing on the Accord matter in court a couple of weeks ago, right prior to Labor Day, and the issue was whether the record could be amended, and the attorney from the S&L law firm came all the way down from San Francisco to argue that documents that weren't put in the record shouldn't be put in the record, and he lost, but he was successful in telling the judge that he needed to do additional work to discover if there's anything else for the record, so they still put over setting the hearing in the matter. So we have to go back to the judge now to get the hearing set. So that's the only thing I have to report. I wish this was moving more quickly, but Mr. Dadwell's attorney agreed to continuing the matter to allow additional time and for the hearing to be set at the next court hearing.
All right. Has any court costs or anything been decided or?
You know, we had Mr. Dadwall enter into an agreement where the city is completely indemnified on attorney's fees and any cost and any, his attorney's fees, and I could even charge him for my attorney's fees for appearing at these hearings. So I've been preparing a separate bill, and we will forward those costs to Mr. Dadwall, so the city shouldn't be out of pocket anything on this.
Okay. All right, we'll talk more about that when Roger gets back to you. City manager's not here. Anything about Rudy? Okay, we'll go back to Chris.
We did not have the financial
treasurer's report.
You want to go back to that?
Okay, so we'll briefly kind of go through the treasurer's report. I was hoping Chuck would make it here in time.
And I went over the warrants, if you have any question on any of those warrants.
The ones I went through, I didn't have any. I think I signed all those checks, so all the questions I had, I asked you at the time.
Right.
There, one moment. There's some that are like Brentag Pacific for 825.
Brentag gives us our chlorine and materials for the reservoir.
Ferguson Enterprises.
That's usually
plumbing.
Joe. Yes, plumbing.
Okay.
She gets those.
Hinderleader Diamas Associates.
HDL. Hinderleader, yeah. We have a contract with them for the looking at the sales tax.
Got it.
And
have we gotten anything from them?
We've finally been able to get into and look at their reports better. Roger was having some difficulty doing that, so we held up. That's the first payment we've made to them in, I think, better part of a year.
Thomas and Associates?
Yeah, that is lift station pump that Bracewell put in. I read an email from them.
Okay, thanks.
Did you ask about Century Alarm?
No.
How much was the Century Alarm?
770.
732.
732.
Century Alarms.
Is that this building?
Century Alarm is on the library.
On the library.
And I
also
think the
water
corporation
tower,
yard as well.
And the corporation yard? Okay. Were you asked about San Benito County Water District?
That is their Water Resources Association. We pay them annually some dues for.
So that's annual?
Yeah.
Okay.
Giving them money for
coming over and switching out toilets.
He comes here once a year.
Checking the water flowing through the houses.
That's it. All the words?
Yep.
Okay.
That's everything I have. Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody, for coming out.